I mocked my gate man in public. I laughed at him in front of my friends, called him nothing, told him people like him were born to open gates for people like me. 2 years later, he bought my house. My name is Tunde, and this story still burns when I remember it. At the time, I lived in a well-secured estate, quiet roads, trimmed lawns, tall gates, the kind of place where success feels permanent, the kind of place where you start believing nothing can ever touch you. I worked in oil and gas. The money was good, the respect came easy. And like many people in my position, I thought my life was proof that I was simply better. Before we continue, kindly like, comment, share and subscribe. It really motivates me. Also, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let me take you back to how all this started. Every morning, my gate opened before I even reached it. That was Samuel's job. He was my gate man, mid-40s, quiet voice, always neat, always respectful. Good morning, sir. Safe drive, sir. No matter how early, no matter how late. I rarely replied. Not because he offended me, but because, in my mind, replying wasn't necessary. You see, in Lagos, Accra, Johannesburg, even abroad, there's a silent ranking system we pretend doesn't exist. Titles, cars, estates, the way people look at you when you walk into a room. And I was high on that ladder. Samuel wasn't, at least, that's what I believed. It was a Saturday afternoon when everything changed. My friends came over, loud, confident men like me, expensive shoes, big laughs, big opinions. As we drove in, Samuel opened the gate as usual. One of my friends smirked and said, Tunde, this your gate man too gentle. He looks like someone life has finished. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. And instead of letting it pass, I added fuel. I turned to Samuel and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, my friend, don't mind them. People like you will be opening gate forever. Some people are not meant to own anything in this life. The laughter exploded. But Samuel didn't laugh. He just stood there, holding the gate open, nodding slowly. Yes, sir, he said. Something about his eyes unsettled me, but pride drowned it out. That night, long after my friends left, I noticed Samuel sitting outside, writing something in a small notebook under the security light. I almost asked him what it was, but I didn't. Why would I? In my world, people like Samuel didn't matter enough to ask questions. I went inside my house, believing I had already won at life. I had no idea the lesson had already begun. The truth is, after that day, something shifted. Not in Samuel, in me. Once you say something cruel out loud and people laugh, it gives you a strange confidence. You start believing the thought was right all along. That's how pride works. It grows legs and starts walking ahead of you. From that Saturday onward, I noticed I spoke to Samuel less like a human being and more like furniture. Open faster. Why are you always slow? Are you deaf? Sometimes my friends were around, sometimes my neighbors, and every time I made sure my voice carried. Samuel never argued, never raised his voice. He just said, sorry, sir, and stepped aside. One evening, a neighbor stopped me near the gate. He was older, calmer, the kind of man who had seen things. He said quietly, Tunde, you know that man is not as simple as he looks. I laughed. Uncle, please, gate man is gate man. The man looked at me for a long moment, then shook his head. Life no dey always show its hand early. I walked away smiling. Weeks passed. Samuel became even more distant, still polite, but something had changed. He no longer tried to make conversation, no extra greetings, no unnecessary words. I liked it. Silence felt like obedience. What I didn't know was that silence can also be preparation. The second major incident happened during a small estate meeting. Power issues, generator money, the usual. Residents gathered outside, murmuring, complaining. Samuel stood nearby, as usual. At some point, the estate chairman asked if anyone had suggestions. Before I could stop myself, I pointed at Samuel and said, laughing, maybe we should ask our gate man. He's probably good with manual labor, not thinking. Some people laughed. Others looked uncomfortable. Samuel looked up, just briefly. Our eyes met. For the first time, he didn't nod. He didn't smile. He just looked at me. Not angry, not hurt, just disappointed. And that made me uneasy. So I doubled down. Relax, I'm joking, I said loudly. Everyone knows their place. That was the last time Samuel ever looked at me the same way. Not long after, things began to crack. Small things at first. Salary delays, then rumors, then an email titled Organizational Restructuring. I told myself it was temporary, but temporary has a way of stretching when pride refuses to bend. One night, I came home late and found Samuel locking the gate. I snapped. "You're closing early now? Is it because you think you are important?" He paused, turned to me, and for the first time in all the years I had known him, he spoke without fear. "Sir," he said, calmly, "importance is not always loud." I froze. Then anger rushed in. "Are you talking back to me?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, sir. I'm just answering." I wanted to sack him right there, but something stopped me. Maybe pride, maybe curiosity, maybe fear. I walked past him without another word. A few weeks later, my bank called. Then the mortgage people. Then silence from the office. The house that once felt like proof of my success now felt too big, too quiet, too expensive. Meanwhile, Samuel arrived every day as usual. On time, calm, unbothered. Sometimes I noticed him taking phone calls quietly, stepping away from the gate, speaking in low tones, serious tones. I ignored it. Because people like me don't imagine people like him having anything important to discuss. That was my mistake. The night everything truly began to fall apart, I sat alone in my living room staring at unpaid bills. The light flickered. Outside, I heard someone locking the gate. For the first time, I wondered what it would feel like to be on the other side of that gate. I didn't know yet, but life was already arranging it. After that night, my life began shrinking in quiet ways. No announcement, no warning, just pressure. My office stopped replying to emails. Salary delays turned into meetings. Meetings turned into silence. Silence turned into excuses I told myself. It will pass, I said. But it didn't. Meanwhile, Samuel remained steady. Every morning, he arrived on time. Same posture, same calm face, same quiet, "Good morning, sir," even when I didn't respond. What changed was the people around him. One afternoon, I drove in and noticed a black SUV parked near the gate, engine still running. A man in a fitted suit stood outside, laughing softly as Samuel spoke. When he saw me, he nodded respectfully. To Samuel. I frowned. That evening, another neighbor greeted Samuel warmly, calling him Chairman. Samuel smiled and corrected him gently. "Not yet," he said. "Not yet." I started noticing other things. Samuel taking phone calls away from the gate, speaking calmly, confidently, using words I wasn't used to hearing from him. Documentation, transfer, timeline. It irritated me. So one evening, I confronted him. "Hope you are not neglecting your duties," I said. "Gate work comes first." He looked at me politely. "Of course, sir. Everything is handled." That tone again. Respectful, but not small. The real blow came a week later. A letter arrived. Not aggressive, not threatening, just formal. A notice informing me that the mortgage arrangement on my house was under review due to changes in my employment status. I read it twice, then a third time. My hands shook. That night, power went out. I sat in the dark, sweating, staring at the walls that once made me feel important. Outside, I heard the familiar sound of the gate closing. For the first time, I wondered something I had never allowed myself to think. Who exactly was Samuel when he wasn't standing at the gate? The final confirmation came on a Tuesday. Short email. One paragraph. My employment had been officially terminated. I didn't shout. Didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at my phone, feeling something collapse quietly inside me. 3 weeks later, the bank followed through. The house was sold. Cash buyer. No negotiation. I found out the name the same way I found out everything else. Late and without dignity. Samuel Holdings Ltd. I asked to see him. When we sat down, it wasn't at the gates. It was inside the house. My house. The one that no longer belonged to me. Samuel wore a simple shirt and trousers. Nothing flashy. He sat calmly, hands folded, facing me. "I didn't plan this to hurt you," he said. "I planned it to secure my future." I swallowed hard. "You could have warned me," I said. He nodded slowly. "You never asked," he replied. "And I learned long ago not to speak where I'm not seen." That sentence broke something in me. He explained everything. The years of saving, the studying, the businesses registered quietly, the patience,
The insults endured because anger would have distracted him. "I didn't buy this house because of you," he said. "I bought it because it was available." When I packed my things, Samuel was there, not watching, helping. When I drove out for the last time, he stood by the gate, holding it open. For me, the irony burned. As I passed through, it hit me. I had spent years believing the gate defined him, only to realize I was the one who never saw past it. If this story moved you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more real-life moral stories like this. Final question. Do you think Samuel was right to stay silent and let life speak for him? Or should he have confronted me earlier?